Good evening, folks. Before anyone judges me, that's zero sugar monster, so it's not as bad for you, and I've drinking so much worse. Nick will probably get mad at me if I don't say next week I'm preaching Sunday morning, right? Yep, giving me a thumbs up from the booth. So show up if you want. Probably be a little lower quality than Nick, but I'll be cooking up something I have no idea yet. Have you ever had one of those moments where you just say something and you immediately think, why did I just say that? I'm having one right now. Maybe it's because you're angry or frustrated or confused. Maybe because someone made you mad on the road and they cut in front of you and you're just like, all of the bleeps. It frustrates you. They just come flying out. You wish you could just grab those words and just shove them back down your throat. But you can't. The problem with words is that as much as you apologize and as much as you ask for forgiveness and as much as you try to rebuild that relationship, you can never unsay something that's said to you. James understands that. Out of everything that he could have written about, he spends almost an entire chapter talking about something every single one of us uses every day, our tongue. Why? Because James knows something we often forget. Small things have enormous consequences sometimes. If you have a Bible, let's read James chapter 3. If you don't have a Bible and you have a pew Bible, it's page 764. Stole that from Nick. He's never used that, and now I can coin that. Page 764 in the pew Bible. It reads in the first 12 verses. It's going to be a lengthy reading, so pray for me and my asthma breath. Do not become teachers in large numbers, my brothers, since you know that we, who are teachers, will incur a stricter judgment. For we all stumble in many ways. If anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to rein in the whole body as well. Now, if we put the bits into the horses' mouths so that they will obey us, we direct their whole body as well. Look at ships too. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are nevertheless directed by a small rudder, wherever the inclination of the pilot determines. So also the tongue is a small part of the body, and yet it boasts of great things. So, see how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire. The tongue is set among our body parts as that which defiles the whole body, and sets on fire the course of our life, and is set on fire by hell. For every species of beasts and birds, of reptiles and creatures of the sea is tamed and has been tamed by the human race. But no one among mankind can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil, full of a deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord our Father, and with it we curse people. We have been made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come both blessing and cursing. My brothers and sisters, these things should not be this way. Does a spring send out the same opening, both fresh and bitter water? Can a fig tree, my brothers and sisters, bear olives, or vine bear figs? Nor can salt water produce fresh water. So James starts by warning teachers. Why is that? Because teachers shape people with their words. And especially when you claim to speak for God, words are so much more important. James then says, for we all stumble in many ways. James includes himself. Every one of us has failed with our words. Every one of us has spoken too quickly or said something in anger or used our tongue in a way that doesn't honor God. James says that if someone can control what he says, he's mature enough to control the whole body. That's a pretty big statement. He's saying one of the clearest signs of spiritual maturity isn't just how much scripture you know, it's whether you can control your tongue. He gives two illustrations, the small bit and a powerful horse, and the small rudder that directs a ship. James' point is simple. The tongue is small, but it directs something much bigger than itself. Your words can direct a friendship. It can shape a family. It can encourage someone, or it can completely crush them. Small things can have enormous consequences. Then James moves to fire. He says, see how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire. A forest fire starts with a spark. We know that in California, right? We've been in droughts, we've been in forest fires long enough. The tongue is the same way. One comment, one lie, one rumor, a piece of gossip that you didn't mean to put out. It takes a few seconds, but the damage it has can last for years. That's why James is using such strong language here. He calls tongue a fire. He says it can defile the whole body and set the courses of life on fire. He wants us to understand that words are not always harmless. When the tongue isn't controlled, it's a weapon. Then James says something interesting. No one among mankind can tame the tongue. Think about that. We can tame wild animals. We can tame dogs, horses, fish, whatever we want. We can do all of these crazy things. These crazy beasts like bears, they go and they're juggling things on a unicycle. We have the ability to tame wild creatures. And yet one of the hardest things we can do as Christians and as humans is tame the one thing in our own mouths. Why? Why is controlling speech so difficult for us? Jesus gives the answer in Luke 6, verses 43 and 45. And I'm not going to stick around too long. It's just a really short chapter, or short section. See, my tongue's messing up already. For there is no good tree that bears bad fruit, and a bad tree that bears good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they pick grapes from a briar bush. The good person out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth what is good. The evil person out of the evil treasures bring forth what is evil. For his mouth speaks from that which fills his heart. For his mouth speaks from that which fills his heart. So church, why does it come out angry? Why someone comes out onto you and assaults you? Why does it come out when you're in hot water? The moments don't create what's inside of us. They reveal what was already there. The tongue isn't the root of the problem, it's the instrument of the heart. Jesus says the mouth speaks from the overflow of the heart. This was already there. If gossip comes out of your mouth, gossip was already there. If anger comes out, anger was already there. The tongue reveals what was filling our heart all along. I have a story. I was in the emergency room. I wasn't personally in there. One of my friends. A bunch of our friends went to go pray for him and hang out. And one of my friends, who's a medical major, looks over and goes, "Hey, CJ, he's on a ton of morphine. A lot of morphine." Well, I stayed there pretty late, skipped classes, hung out. Walked out of the room, and I was driving the group back. And one of our friends stayed back there, and it was just them talking one-on-one. And the friend who was on morphine, something that hurt me, that shook me to my core, that exposed every internal flaw that I felt about myself. He later came, and after he got out of the hospital, he found me, and we talked, and he apologized for what he said. I told him how much it hurt me. First, I wanted to blame the morphine. It's easier to blame that. And so did he. But he said something I won't forget. The morphine didn't put those thoughts in my head. They were already there. Looking back, that helped me understand what Jesus means here. The morphine didn't create what was in his heart. It didn't direct his tongue. It removed the filter there. In the same way, anger doesn't create bitterness, and stress doesn't just create gossip. The same way, pressure doesn't create sinful speech. It just reveals what was living in our hearts all along. The tongue is an instrument of the heart. So the tongue reveals the heart. Then the obvious question becomes, what kind of heart do I have? James talks about two kinds of wisdom continuing in the chapter in verses 13 through 18. And it reads, "Who among you is wise and understanding? Show by his good behavior of his deeds, in his gentleness of wisdom. If you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie above the truth. The wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, the disorder and every evil thing. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial, free of hypocrisy, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in the peace of those who make it. I want to look at this specific part where it says, for where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there's disorder and every evil thing. He doesn't talk about speech anymore. He's talking about the heart, right? This is right after this. He's leading up. He's building up to this. And the Lord reveals our heart, and James starts criticizing the earthly wisdom. If we think about it, where does gossip come from? Where do the outbursts of anger come from? Where does the need to always have the come out of your mouth come from? It's much deeper than the tongue. It starts in the heart. Because selfish ambition wants to win more, it's peace. You would rather tear someone down than celebrate successes. Pride would rather be recognized. Wisdom from God, James says it's not wisdom from God, it's earthly, it's natural, it's demonic. Those are incredibly strong words, church. It says when our speech is fueled by jealousy and selfish ambition, it's not reflecting God's wisdom. It's reflecting the wisdom of the world. But James doesn't stop there. He tells them what wisdom from above looks like. It's pure, peace-loving, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial, free of hypocrisy. Notice how every one of those qualities changes the way we speak to people. So church, you may be asking me, what do I do now? We got the problem. Jesus got the solution for the problem and shows us the source. So what's the answer? Stop simply trying to clean up your speech. Let God transform your heart, because when your heart begins to change, your words begin to change. When your heart is filled with bitterness, your mouth will speak bitterness. When your heart is full of wisdom, your mouth will start speaking peace and mercy and gentleness and truth. Church, if you can grasp onto one thing that I've said this evening, Nick wants me to make a point, so here it is. One thing you can remember, one thing you can leave with tonight. I've said it 2 times. Here's the third time's a charm. Small things have enormous consequences. James showed us a small bit controls a horse, a small rudder directs a ship. A small spark burns down the forest. And a small tongue that can build up and tear down a life. Never underestimate the power of something God says is small. So don't ignore your words. Examine your heart. Because while the tongue is small, the consequences of what it is used for can be enormous. And that's why Jesus didn't simply come up and clean up our speech. He came to transform our hearts. Because when Christ changes the heart, the tongue begins to follow. Church, maybe you have a need tonight. Maybe you're struggling with bitterness in your heart or something in your heart, and you keep saying things you don't need to say. If you're struggling, we have wonderful people here who would be willing to talk to you. You can come up to the front row as we stand and sing.